delivers the talk. And of course, on the Watchtower discussion, so we can all have a benefit by participating and having the energy to encourage. So we ask for these things in Jesus Christ's name. As we mentioned in our prayer, we have Brother David Shavir, our local brother today, giving our public talk. We'd like all in attendance to pay close attention to his talk entitled, How to Protect Ourselves from Satan's Snares. Appreciate it.
The sound of the alarm goes out to the firehouse. The firemen run to put on their gear. They put on their pants, they take their boots and they strap them on, they put on their coats, they take their fire helmet with them. Why? Well, they put this gear on in order to protect themselves from the element that they're going to battle, and that's the fire. We too need to protect ourselves from Satan's snares. Does Satan really exist? There's some people who believe that the Bible, that it refers to Satan as the evil within a person. Now, the Word Book Encyclopedia makes this comment, and I quote, "Many modern theologians consider the devil to be a symbol of the power of evil, the worst qualities of human nature," end of quote. What, though, are the true facts? A snare of Satan is to keep control of mankind. Actually, the whole world is lying under his control. Turn with me to 1 John chapter 5. As we look at 1 John chapter 5, notice what verse 19 states. We know that we originate with God, but the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. That wicked one is Satan the devil. The Bible is the true source of reliable information regarding Satan. It exposes him for the despicable liar that he is, and that he's a wicked spirit person. The account in Job chapter 1 and 2 shows that Satan is a real person. Now, we're going to go into those two accounts later in our discussion this afternoon. But at this time, please turn your Bibles with me to Matthew chapter 4. As we turn there to Matthew chapter 4, notice as we read verse 8 and 9, what the devil tries to do to say, or what the devil tries to make Jesus do. In verse 8, again, the devil took him along to an unusually high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these things I will give you if you fall down and do an act of worship to me. Did you notice what Satan was trying to get Jesus to do? He offered them all the kingdoms of the world, which really represents all the governments of the world, and their glory for just one act. Jesus will have no part of it. Notice how Jesus answers him in verse 10. Then Jesus said, go away, Satan, for it is written, it is Jehovah your God you must worship, and it is to him alone you must render sacred service. So we see clearly here, Satan is a real person. Jesus told him that he was quoting from the Hebrew scriptures and told him, get away, it is Jehovah we must worship. So Satan is a real person. What was Satan's motives and purposes? Created perfect, he let ambition take over. Notice what it states in James chapter 1. And we're going to look at James chapter 1. And we're going to read verse 14 and 15. There it reads, but each one is tried by being drawn out and enticed by his own desires. Then the desire, when it has become fertile, gives birth to sin. In turn, sin, when it has been carried out, brings forth death. In the case of Satan, he desired something that was not his. He wanted worship. That only belonged to Jehovah. And yet here, because he continued to fester on it, gave way to wanting to be worshipped. You see, he was determined to prove himself so superior to Jehovah by turning God's intelligent creatures from serving him. He challenged the rightfulness of Jehovah's sovereignty. Turn with me to Genesis chapter 3. As we turn to Genesis chapter 3, let's read verses 1 through 5. There it states, "Now the serpent was the most cautious of all the wild animals of the field that Jehovah God made. So it said to the woman, Did God really say that you must not eat from every tree of the garden? At this the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But God has said about the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, you must not eat from it. No, you must not touch it. Otherwise, you will die. At this, the serpent said to the woman, You certainly will not die. For God knows that in the very day you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and bad. This spirit rebel became a factor in influencing Adam and Eve to rebel. Was he successful? Absolutely. Notice verse 6. Consequently, the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was something desirable to the eyes. Yes, she began taking of its fruit and eating it. Afterwards, she also gave some to her husband, went with her, and he began eating it. Did you notice when we read James, it said a desire? What it said here about Eve, she desired something that wasn't hers. She wanted to be like God, to know good or bad. Even though she knew the consequences that eating from this particular tree would cause her life, it didn't mean nothing to her. Now, it's interesting that the devil, mentioned in the Bible, which means slander, he slandered Jehovah, he lied about Jehovah. And the word Satan means adversary, which means he opposes, he's an opposer, and obviously he opposes God. In fact, Christian Greek scriptures, the name Satan is mentioned 36 times, and the word devil 33 times. His challenge poses tests to every intelligent creature as to loyalty to Jehovah. Let's go now to the account found in Job chapter 1. Now, in Job chapter 1, we're going to look at verses 8. But notice now the dialogue that's going on between Jehovah God and Satan the devil. This takes place in heaven, and it's about Jehovah's loyal servant Job. But let's start with verse 8 and see what transpires. And Jehovah said to Satan, Have you taken note of my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth. He is an upright man of integrity, fearing God and shunning what is bad. At that Satan answered Jehovah, Is it for nothing that Job has feared God? Have you not put up a protective hedge around him and his house and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his livestock has spread out in the land. Before you change, stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your very face. Then Jehovah said to Satan, Look, everything that he has is in your hand. Only do not lay your hand on the man himself. So Satan went out from the presence of Jehovah. Did you notice what Satan was challenging there? His Job's integrity, his loyalty to God. What he said to Jehovah was, listen, the only reason he's worshiping you is because you blessed him with everything. Take it away from him. He'll curse you. He'll give up his loyalty to you. And Jehovah said, you know what? You can do anything, take anything away from him. You just can't touch him. Let's see what takes place in verse 14 now. We'll read verse 14. A messenger came to Job and said, The cattle were plowing and the donkeys were gazing beside them, when the Sabeans attacked and took them, and they killed the servants with the sword, I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Notice verse 17. While he was still speaking, another one came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 bands and made a raid on the camels and took them. And they killed the servants with the sword. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. So what took place here? Well, Satan took all of his wealth, all of his livestock that he had. But was that it? Is that all that he did to him? No. Look at verse 18 and 19. While he was still speaking, yet another one came and said, your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in the oldest brother's house. Suddenly a great wind came from the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, so that it fell on the young people and they were killed. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Can you imagine that? His 10 children were killed. This is one after another he was getting these messages of what was taking place. So how would he respond? How would Job feel? How would you feel? Well, notice verse 22. In all of this, Job did not sin or accuse God of doing anything wrong. What a fine example of Job after going through all this tragedy. But would that stop Satan from testing or from trying to break his loyalty to God? No, not at all. Look at chapter 2 of Job. Again, notice the dialogue that's going on between Satan and Jehovah God about this faithful one, Job. So it says in verse 4, but Satan answered Jehovah, skin for skin, and man will give everything that he has for life. But for a change, stretch out your hand and strike his bone and flesh, and he will surely curse you to your very face. Then Jehovah said to Satan, look, he is in your hand, only do not take his life. So Satan went out from the presence of Jehovah and struck Job with painful boils, from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. Did you notice what Satan here was challenging, right? His loyalty. He said, listen again. This time, plague him with something, and he'll give up his loyalty to you. And Jehovah God said, okay, do whatever you want to. You just can't kill him. So he puts this boy from the crown of his head down to his feet, and it was painful. Now, how did his wife feel about what was going on? Now, remember, his wife lost all the cows too, and their wealth and their livestock, right? It was hers too. She lost her 10 children, didn't she? Right? How did she feel? Notice verse 9. Finally, his wife said to him, are you still holding firmly to your integrity? Curse God and die. She about had it. She saw his condition now physically, right, impaired with all this that was going on, all that she lost. But what would Job do? How would he respond to his wife? Let's notice the next verse of verse 10. But he said to her, are you talking like one of the senseless women? Should we accept only what is good from the true God, and not accept also what is bad? In all of this, Job did not sin with his lips. What a fine example of loyalty Job sets for us. So then why should we be watchful regarding Satan? Well, we need to because we don't want him to destroy us. Notice what the Apostle Peter wrote in 1 Peter 5. Let's turn here in the Bible to 1 Peter 5. And we're going to read verse 8. Keep your senses. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking to devour someone. So Satan is likened to a lion seeking to eat each and every one of us up. The one where it mentions that is all dedicated servants of Jehovah, as well as newly interested ones who are learning the truth and applying their lives in accordance with Bible principles. That's who Satan is going after. But we can uphold Jehovah's sovereignty, like Job and like Jesus, and we can make his heart glad. Notice the admonishment we receive at Proverbs 27:11. Let's turn here at Proverbs 27:11. there reads, "Be wise, my son or daughter, and make my heart rejoice, so that I can make a reply to him who taunts me." Yes, by our loyalty to Jehovah, we can make his heart glad. And he can give an answer to the one who taunts him, which is Satan, whenever he gets any one of Jehovah's loyal servants to lose their loyalty. You see, our vigilance brings rewards of everlasting life. But what is a snare? A snare is a trap. And we're going to look at a few of the snares that Satan is using, or these traps that he's using to mislead people in these critical last days. Satan misleads many through love of pleasures. So now he has many traps or many snares. We're only going to cover a few. But this one, let's turn our Bibles to 2 Timothy chapter 3. Notice what the Apostle Paul pins down. That's 2 Timothy chapter 3. And we're going to look at verses 1 and 4. And there it reads, "But know this, that in the last days, critical times, hard to deal will be here." Notice verse 4. "There'll be betrayers, headstrong, puffed up with pride, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God." Yes, the majority of mankind would allow Satan to put pleasures ahead of even serving God or even getting to know God. Now, this could come in the form of the base popular music, demoralizing TV, or movies. We know when we hear these lyrics, or you hear in the news, or look at these ratings for these movies, they promote sex, they promote violence, they promote things that are not in accord with what Jehovah wants us to do. So we see that today. Another snare that Satan uses is the appeal to pride. Pride caused Eve's downfall. Satan himself succumbed to pride. The Bible speaks of individuals such as Nimrod and Cain, victims of pride. All of these lost their relationship with Jehovah and ultimately their lives because of it. If we fail to guard against pride, we too could begin to think more of ourselves than is necessary to think, perhaps even to the point of resisting scriptural counsel. Notice the danger of that in Proverbs 29, verse 1. And there, in Proverbs 29, verse 1, it says, "A man who stiffens his neck after much reproof will suddenly be broken beyond healing." What a danger. We need to guard against pride. Tobacco and drug addictions are unclean snares. Turn with me in your Bibles to 2 Corinthians chapter 7. Now, it's true, you may come across an individual who says, "Hey, there's nowhere in the Bible that it says I can't smoke or take drugs." And that's true. You won't find it saying you can't do that. But notice the principle found in 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. "Therefore, since we have these promises, beloved ones, let us cleanse ourselves of every defilement of flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God." Millions of people have come to learn about Jehovah who had habits of smoking and taking drugs and on alcohol. And they are able to make those changes by applying this principle. Indeed, when you think about these addictions, it is a defilement of the flesh, inside of the person as well as outside of the person. So, again, it is a defilement. Now, another powerful snare that Satan uses is sex attraction. So powerful that even angels were seduced. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 6. Notice what it states here in verse 2. "The sons of the true God, which are the angels, what did they start to do? They began to notice the daughters of man were beautiful. So they began taking as wives all whom they chose." So now these angels, right, They were looking from the heavens, and they were looking at this beautiful creation of Jehovah, the woman of the earth. They were beautiful to them, that they materialized to humans and took on these human bodies to have sexual relationship with these women. Something that they weren't supposed to have or do. How do we know? Notice the book of Jude. We're going to go to Jude, which is the book just before Revelation. Notice the outcome because of that decision they made. How does Jehovah view them? That will be Jude, and we're going to look at verse 6 here. It says there, and the angels who did not keep the original decision, but forsook their own proper dwelling place, he has reserved with eternal bonds and dense darkness for the judgment of the great day. Yeah, they lost their relationship with Jehovah too. You see, in Jehovah's eyes, these angels became demons, and they're as good as dead in Jehovah's eyes. Ultimately, he's going to allow his son to execute them in due time during that judgment that we read there. The Israelites, they too were seduced by women of Moab. If we turn to our Bibles to Numbers chapter 25, notice what took place there. Here they were told not to get involved with these people of Moab, not to have any kind of relationship with them. So what did they do? Let's see if they follow those directions. Verse 1 of Numbers 25. When the Israelites were dwelling in Shittim, the people started to commit sexual immorality with the daughters of Moab. They totally went against Jehovah, right? What effect did that have? What was the outcome? Notice verse 9. Those who died from the scourge amounted to 24,000. All because of sexual attraction. Of those disfellowship from the Christian congregation, the great majority, because of sexual immorality. Understand, this is one of Satan's most powerful snares. It's working right down to this day. Does this mean then that there's no protection from us from Satan's snares? No, not at all. We have God's word, the Bible, as we mentioned. We need to read it, apply it. And if we do, then we'll be safeguarded. We have this visible organization here on earth. We have the faithful slave class that makes up the governing body, that continues to feed us at the proper time with spiritual food, such as the Watch on the Wake magazine and other publications, right? All are a safeguard for us. You see, to protect means to cover, shield, safeguard against harm. We need to resist Satan at all times. And we can do this. Notice what's written in James chapter 4. As we look at James chapter 4, notice how we can do this in verse 7 and 8. Therefore, subject yourselves to God, but oppose the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw close to God, and he will draw close to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you indecisive ones. Yes, we can be protected by drawing close to Jehovah. Bad things should be abhorred, no matter how pleasurable they would seem to be. Notice the thought in Psalms 97. Turn here to Psalms 97. And we're going to read verse 10. Then verse 10 it says, "Oh, you who love Jehovah, hate what is bad. He is guarding the lives of his loyal ones. He rescues them from the hand of the wicked one." Now, Jesus set the example. If you would, please turn with me to Hebrews chapter 1. Notice what's said about Jesus in verse 9. Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 9. There it says, "You love righteousness and you hated lawlessness. That is why God, your God, anointed you with the oil of exaltation more than your companions." At this time, if we could look at the monitor, notice the Roman soldier. He has his complete suit of armor on. He has his helmet, his breastplate, he has his shield, and his sword. he is ready for physical warfare. And so as you look at him, right, suppose he decided to leave any one of that armor off to get engaged in physical warfare. That would be disastrous for him, wouldn't it not? Wouldn't it be? Suppose again he has his helmet, his breastplate, his shield, but decides to leave his sword behind, and he's going to go to combat to fight. What would be his chances of surviving in physical warfare without his sword? Well, his chances of survival would be slim to none, and slim just left time. So again, when we look at this, we want to look and see, do we have our spiritual armor on at all times? Notice what it said in Ephesians. Now we want to leave our markers in Ephesians chapter 6. We'll leave our markers there because here's what we're going to speak about, this spiritual suit of armor that we need to have on. Notice what it states here in verse 11. Put on the complete suit of armor from God so that you may be able to stand firm against the crafty acts of the devil. Notice that did you notice the need to put on that complete suit of armor from God? If we do, we'll be properly protected. But let us look at each part of this armor as described by the Apostle Paul and make an honest appraisal of ourselves to determine whether we are fully equipped for spiritual warfare. Because it's true, we're not in a physical warfare, we're in a spiritual warfare. Notice verse 13 of Ephesians 6. For this reason, take up the complete suit of armor from God, so that you may be able to resist in the wicked day, and after you have accomplished everything, to stand firm. Now we want to see what this spiritual armor is going to consist of. So now we're going to break down the next few scriptures, 14 to 17, one by one. And some of them we're going to break it down from A to B. So let's look at the A part of 14. It says there, stand firm, therefore, with the belt of truth fastened around the waist. Now in Bible times, a soldier wore a leather belt about 6 inches wide. This girdle helped to protect his loins. When a soldier tightened his girdle, this signified his readiness for battle. How fitting then that divine truth is likened to a soldier's girdle. This well illustrates that we should keep God's word of truth very close to us, and we should reflect deeply on the thought content of God's word. This will protect us from being misled by lies and deceptions. Notice Ephesians 6, verse 14, the B part. Wearing the breastplate of righteousness. A soldier's breastplate protected a vital physical organ, that was the heart. And our God-given spiritual armor, righteousness, protects our heart. Scripturally, the heart is a fitting symbol of what we are inside, our feelings, our thoughts, our desires. Obedience to God must not be hypocritical outward show. It must come from within. This requires that we develop a strong love for righteousness and an equally strong hatred for lawlessness. Thus our heart is protected. Look at verse 15. Having your feet sharp with readiness to declare the good news. Keeping busy in kingdom preaching activities strengthens our confidence in the good news. It allows your Holy Spirit to work through us in the accomplishment of His will. True, certain territories are unresponsive. Individuals may be indifferent, apathetic. Our preaching may even bring persecution upon us. By persevering, we develop endurance, a quality that provides protection against Satan's attacks. Look at verse 16. Besides all of this, take up the large shield of faith, with which you will be able to extinguish all the wicked one's burning arrows. With a large shield, a soldier of ancient times protected himself from spears and arrows. Christians face even more deadly weapons, the wicked one's burning missiles, as we just read here. This would include all the resources that Satan brings to bear in order to weaken our faith and kill us spiritually. They include persecution, lies, deceptive worldly philosophies, materialistic attractions, and the temptation to engage in immorality. develop this protective armor by studying God's word and meditating on what we are learning, associating with fellow worshipers as we're doing here today. In this way, the large shield of faith will serve as a protection. Ephesians 6:17a. Notice the A part of that. Except also the helmet of salvation. So a soldier's helmet protected his head, thus his brain, the organ of neural coordination and of thought. The Christian hope for salvation is likened to a helmet because it protects our mind. If we allow our mind to feed on faith-destroying, unclean thinking produced by the spirit of this world, our confidence in salvation will fade away and finally die. On the other hand, if we constantly feed our mind on the strengthening words of God, our hope will remain bright and clear. The question that we can ask ourselves, do we keep our helmet of salvation tightly fitted? You can do this by straightening your hope by telling others about it. Let's look at Ephesians 6, verse 17, the B part. And the sword of the Spirit, that is God's word. The saying that the best defense is a good offense is true in Christian warfare. As our feet shout with the good news of peace carry us among the unbeliever, we are not left weaponless. We have God's word, the Bible, that acts as a powerful sword that slashes away at spiritual lies and misconceptions. And then we can help light-hearted individuals to find spiritual peace. Prayer also is a protection for ourselves from Satan's snares. Such prayers would include petition, supplication, thanksgiving, and praise. The fruit of the Spirit is a strong defense against Satan and the works of the flesh. Let's turn our Bibles to Galatians chapter 5. And here we're going to read part of the fruit of the Spirit, but also the works of the flesh. And notice how the works of the flesh, the majority of people, is what they strive for. It says in verse 19 to 21 of chapter 5. Now the works of the flesh are plainly seen, and they are sexual immorality, uncleanness, brazen conduct, idolatry, spiritism, hostility, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, dissension, division, sect, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and things like these. I am forewarning you about these things the same way I already forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit God's kingdom. So the majority of mankind, this is the fruit of this, or the works of the flesh that they strive for. But God's people strive for the fruits of God's Spirit. Notice verse 22 and 23. On the other hand, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. So the fruit of the Spirit also serves as a protection. Are there rewards for protecting ourselves from Satan's snares? Absolutely. Having a clean conscience because of our conduct is a reward. The joy of contributing to Jehovah's sovereignty or vindicating his name is a reward. Keeping our integrity also encourages others to be faithful. Eternal life in God's new world order is another grand reward. Anointed Christians will rule as heavenly kings with Christ Jesus. The great cloud will survive Armageddon and have a share making this earth into a paradise. Such rewards can be ours only if we keep up our guard and protect ourselves from Satan's snares.
Thank you very much, Brother Shabir, for delivering that beautiful talk. A lot of nice warnings in there.